guests. First of all, a very quick show of hands. Who here has actually seen the film Bridget Jones' Diary, the first one? Yes, most of you, thank you. And I wonder how many of you actually remember the part of that film where Colin Firth walks down the stairs and he says to Bridget Jones, "I like you just the way you are." What a magical moment. And the next scene, we see Bridget sitting with her friends and they're all looking amazed. He likes you just as you are. But you know, I have to admit that here at Cardinals, I actually feel that same feeling. I feel accepted just the way I am. And for once, I'm not somebody's daughter, I'm not somebody's mother, I'm not, you know, Lucy's gran. Are you John Etheridge's wife? I'm just me. And I'm very grateful. And I don't think I can possibly be the only person here in this room who has been brought to Cardinals because Jenny Cutler thought it was And I can remember that very first evening that she brought me along as a guest. And it was in a back street in Victoria. It was up some creaky old stairs. The dashing Col McGuinness was the president. And James Marshall wound us all with a story about a near-fatal road accident. I can't remember who the timekeeper was, but he made some joke about his job was nothing to do with making toast, which I thought was quite funny at the time. And drinks were cheap. It was that long ago. But look, you know, I didn't know whether it was for me. I mean, I heard these speakers, they were so eloquent. But then I thought, 90 seconds of being allowed to speak without my family and friends interrupting me, let alone 7 whole minutes. Oh, okay, I'll join. But Jilly, my beloved mentor, she will tell you my icebreaker nearly didn't happen. I was rehearsing in her apartment and I was very nervous and I was stroppy. And I stood up to give my speech. And I can't do this. I can't stand up in front of everybody and talk. Poor Jilly. I landed on the sofa as well. But I didn't know then what I know now. And that is that Toastmasters in general and Cardinals in particular are just Toastmasters. They're friends. And they will us to do well. They're encouraging. They're supportive. And unbelievably, I'm here and it's my number 10. And on the way, I've actually won a couple of ribbons, which has always amazed me because the standard, every speech is wonderful. But it's not all about winning ribbons, actually. It's what has happened to me, what I've actually achieved. Ambitions which I wouldn't normally have even attempted if it hadn't been for Toastmasters and Jilly. I'm actually a tour guide now for the British Museum. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the British Museum. I would never have had the nerve to have done anything like that without this experience. I love it. been mentioned earlier today, it's about listening to other people. Of course, you know what that means. That means other people are listening to us. And we don't know who we are influencing. One night, it wasn't here, it was at the Rubens, and Simon Bucknell was giving a contest speech. It was called The Clown's Story. And it was all about, if you enjoy doing something, who cares about what anybody else thinks? Do it anyway. And it was exactly what I needed to hear that night. I had begun a creative writing course. My tutor had just told me, Maggie, give up that poetry bit. You're not very good at that. Stick with the composition. I was feeling a bit sad. I like doing the poetry bit. Then I heard Simon. I'd give it another try. I'd write some poetry. And then, do you know, the most incredible thing happened. I handed it in, and my tutor emailed me almost immediately. Maggie, I have given you the highest mark I have ever given anyone. You must have had divine inspiration. I've always thought so. Don't tell him. But that poem has been read at funeral services. It's been framed and hung on walls. I've been told it's treasured. And if it hadn't been for Simon, he didn't win that night. But my goodness, he was a winner for me. Now, I know I've got a lot to learn. The things that I treasure are those little slips of paper. Again, they've been mentioned this evening, but I treasure them. I staple them together and I tuck them away to look at. And working through the manual is such fun. You know, I sort of feel it's a little bit like learning to drive a car. You sit in that car and you don't actually know which pedal to push. You think, how am I ever going to learn? And then suddenly you find it's automatic. So working through the manual, cutting out the extraneous words, I thought they were rather good, but no, get to the point. You know, an excuse to shout really loudly if you want to, try a different accent. You know, exaggerate body movements. I can actually lie. And it's wonderful. I've enjoyed coming through the manual. But the other thing I love, and that is coming through that door, walking into a room full of cardinals. You know, some people come, they become members, and then they disappear. They leave. But they don't leave. They leave an impression on me. Some people are here every time, every session, and it's so heartwarming to see everybody. Some people can come up here and they make us laugh all evening. Other people, and I'm hugely privileged about this, they feel they can share moments of sorrow and grief. And you feel just for that moment you can see into this window of their lives. It's such a privilege. So I hope you forgive me because I'm not able to do that. It's not me. Not my philosophy. I find it difficult to go back, revisit these moments of sorrow and grief. So I move on. And what's next? Ta-da! What manual? What am I going to do next? I don't know. What I do know is that even if I fall flat on my face, it doesn't matter because just the way